Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about programming the T14SG using the Brain 2 flybarless system on my Oxy 5 RC helicopter. I'm gonna give you a few tips which I figured out during the programming. So I will show you some screens of the T14SG, how to program the steps on the T14SG, and also on the software we go through every screen and show you the most important steps on every screen to make your RC helicopter fly perfectly. The first thing you always have to do on your transmitter is to program a new model. So for this we have to go to the model selection like this, then we switch to new model, then we keep it for 1 second, and we're already here. We have to select what kind of model it is. It's a helicopter. Swash plate you always have to set to H1 for the Brain 2 flybarless system, so H1 is already set correct, and then everything is ready. You can jump to model type, enter, then you can choose your transmitter protocol, if it's FHSS or if it's a fast receiver. In my case it's SFHSS, so select this, and then we're already done, and now we're ready to start programming. Before you start the Brain app, make sure that your Brain is connected to the computer by the micro USB cable. I also recommend to connect the RC receiver and power up the Brain and the RC receiver using a 6-volt RC receiver battery, or you can also already use your ESC BEC, which powers up the RC receiver and the Brain. Like this you have power for your RC receiver, for the Brain, and also for your servos, which you have to connect later during the setup. Then it's time to start the Brain software. This is just information about the latest firmware I can update, but for now we skip this. No need to update now. Then here we go with the Brain software with the first screen. On the left side you always have a guide which gives you the most important information about the current step you have to do on the screen. On the top you have different icons which guide you through all the steps in the wizard menu. You also have the advanced menu, which we will have a short look later. Then you have different settings you have to do already on the first screen. First thing is that you have to choose your transmitter brand. In my case it's Futaba. Then you have to choose the brand of your motor. It's Contronic in my case. The same for ESC, it's also Contronic in my case. Then I use Gensace batteries. You have different brands you can choose here too. And then you go to cyclic and tail servos, where you can choose the exact servo you use. In my case it's both KST servos. Then choose your blades. You have also a list of different blades. Mine weren't listed, so I choose unlisted. The same for the tail blade name. Then you can choose your helicopter. In my case it's the Oxy 5 electric, and my transmitter is set to mode 2, so you can choose your flight mode you use on your transmitter from mode 1 up to mode 4. This is all about the first screen, so let's jump directly to the second screen. On the second screen you have to choose the position of your Brain 2, how you put it into your helicopter. So there are a lot of different options. Wires to the front, wires to the back, wires down, wires up, and all the different situations you can see here. In my case it's wires to the back, and on the left side and top side visible of the Brain, and I had to choose this icon in this case. This is all you have to do on this screen. So then we can jump to the next one. Next one is receiver protocol selection. There's the option for standard receiver, so you have to connect every single channel from the receiver to your Brain 2. If you have a standard receiver, then there are different kinds of serial bus systems. In my case, it's the Futaba S bus, so I had to choose this icon. Then let's jump to the wiring. Here you can see all you use for your setup. First of all, on the left you can see the flight direction of your helicopter, and then the swash plate. You have to check which swash plate is the swash plate on your helicopter. In my case, it's the 120 degrees swash plate, the third from top. And on the Brain 2 you can see also the servo channels 1, 2, 3, so you can see which servo on your swash plate you have to connect to which channel on your Brain 2. Then you have the throttle channel. This is throttle servo if you have a nitro powered helicopter, which goes to channel 1. The same also to channel 1 if you have ESC, an electric helicopter. And then you have optional telemetry if you want to have some data on your transmitter live from your helicopter, or if you want to use governor on your Brain, not governor on your ESC, you can connect RPM signal to your Brain, so you get the RPM directly to your Brain to set governor mode. I use governor mode on my ESC, so no need for this wiring in my case. Also RX connector, if you have a serial receiver like I have, it's only one wire which goes to channel 3, and like this wiring is already done. Then we jump to one of the most important pages, and here we already have the first things you have to be aware which are not mentioned on the left side. On all the information you get here, it's always individual from transmitter to transmitter. So I will show you the setup on the T14SG. What we do here is that we set center point and end points for every channel. This is very important to have the right channel for the right function. So on top we can see aileron. Aileron is on the right channel. Usually you have to do nothing for your T14SG. So the only thing you have to be sure that you have set no subtrims. Subtrims have to be on all channels set to 0. And then you have just to be sure that on center stick you always have a 0 on the right side. And if you move to the right and to the left on the aileron stick, you go to 100 and 100. And if you have different numbers, you have to go to the servo endpoint on your T14SG and then set your travel limits up and down until you have perfectly 100 on every single stick movement. So that's for aileron, same for elevator, push forward, push it backwards. And on this situation you also have to be sure that you have set the right movement in case of reverse. So if you push your elevator stick to the front and the bar doesn't move to forward side, then you have to reverse your elevator stick. This is also on the menu where you can find reverse. There you have to set every single channel reversed or to normal to make sure that every servo goes to the right way. Same for tail stick, left should be left, right should be right. Then we have pitch. So negative pitch, if your stick is down, you have to have it on the left side, negative pitch, and if you push it up, you go to positive pitch. If this is the wrong way, you have to reverse here too. And then we have one very important part, which is the tail gain. Tail gain, on the right side you can see the number, which is 55 in this case. If your servo travel does not match the Brain gain, you have to adjust also the endpoints of your tail gain. And first we have to check if tail gain is even on the right channel. To make sure that we are on the right channel, we switched from wizard menu on the top to advanced menu on the top. and there you have receiver on the left side. If you click receiver, you can see every channel, every function on which channel it has to be. So here we have tail gain. Tail gain has to be on channel 5. And on the Futaba T14SG, tail gain is not set to channel 5 as standard. So this doesn't work at all if you just want to adjust anything on tail gain. So you have to go to your function menu. There you have to go to channel 5, go to the name of the function, and you have to change it to Gyro. So like this you are sure that your channel 5 will work as gyro gain, and then you will be able to set the endpoint of your tail gain on channel 5. So this is one of the most important steps. Check your channel that is channel 5 and then adjust the endpoints to make sure that it matches exactly the brain gain on the tail. Then throttle stick is the same as pitch, it has to move the same. As you can see, I already set my governor mode so it doesn't move up to 100 if I push throttle to the top or push pitch to the top. So it only goes to 70% just because of governor mode. If you do the initial setup, you will have 0 on negative pitch, 100% negative pitch, and on 100% positive pitch you will also have 100 on throttle stick. The other aux modes I didn't use because this is for auto level and rescue. I don't use auto level and rescue, and I also don't need any additional auxiliary channels. This is it for this screen. Then we jump to the next screen, which is rotor rotation direction and the type of your swash plate. Just make sure that you choose the right rotor direction. It's clockwise on the most helicopters I know, and I have the swash plate 120 degrees like we already saw in the screen before. This is what I had to set up here. Then we have to choose the right servos. On the left here you have the possibility to choose a servo from a servo list. So if your servo is mentioned, you just can click your servo and then it shows the exact right servo and sets automatic to the correct center pulse and refresh frequency, which in my case is 1520 and 333 Hertz. And on the tail servo the same, you can choose from your list. If it's not on your list, you have to check the data of your servo and choose the right icon. And if the refresh frequency doesn't match icons, you can adjust the exact refresh frequency on this bar here, both for the cyclic servos and for the tail servo. This is very important that you really match your frequency, because you can burn your servo if the frequency doesn't match. Then we go to the next one. This one is to set up center position on your servos, set the cyclic servos to the right movement, so every servo moves, if you have collective pitch, all up and all down at the same time. So to make sure that the reverse works, just hit the reverse icon as long as you need until your servos move collective up and down. And also if you move your cyclic pitch to the right, to the left, up and down, it has to move the right way. So hit the servo reverse as long as you need, and after every hit check the movement of your servos, cyclic pitch and collective pitch, if everything works the way it should. So if you move your elevator to the front, swash plate has to go to the front. If you move the elevator back, your swash plate has to go back. Right swash plate has to go to the right, and left swash plate has to go to the left. And on collective pitch, if you move forward or pitch up, your swash plate has to move up. Every servo has to do the same move up, and if you go back down, all servos have to move down. Then you can also set your center point of your servo, so your servo arms are perfectly 90 degrees set on each cyclic servo. You just move your stick to the center position, and with the plus and minus buttons you can set every servo up and down until all arms look perfectly 90 degrees angled. And then you have to move your stick down to move collective pitch down and up, and you can do the same for positive pitch, for negative pitch, and also for cyclic pitch. You can choose all here. Just move the stick to the end point you want to have positive pitch, negative pitch, and then select plus and minus until you have the recommended pitch. For collective pitch it's around 12 degrees, which is recommended, and for cyclic pitch it's about 10 degrees, which is recommended. You can use a level gauge to adjust the exact pitch of your blades. I personally use my smartphone using a level app. Just put the smartphone onto the rotor head and adjust the servos up and down, plus and minus, until I have the exact right degrees on my smartphone app. This works pretty good. It's perhaps not the absolute exact way to do it, but for a fun flyer like I am, it's absolutely great to set up with a smartphone. No use for any level gauge, so that works pretty nice. This is what happens on this page. Then we jump to the next one. Here we have the tail servo to set. You can also do servo reverse, so first make sure that your servo moves to the right way. So if you want to go left with your nose, make sure the servo and the pitch makes the right move, and to the right the same thing. And then you can also set the end position from left stick input and right stick input. You can see the green bar. If you push to the left, you can adjust the left end point. If you push to the right, you can adjust with plus and minus the right end point. And that's already what happens on this page. Then let's jump to the next one. Here you have to select the blades you use. If you use a flybarred helicopter, which is possibly not the case, but if so, you can choose this icon. So in this case you will only have the gyro, which works on your tail servo, but not for your cyclic servos. And then you can choose 2 blades or more than 2 blades, and you can choose the size of your blades. In my case it was 600s, and I have 2 blade head, so that's a selection I had to do. Then the next page is to select flying style setup. So you can set up 3 different settings for your flying style to have different characteristics of your flybarless system. This is channel 7, so just have a short look at the advanced menu again on the receiver. Then you can see channel 7 a setup selection. On channel 7 you can set any switch you want to have. In my case I set switch SC, which is a 3-position switch, and like this you can just simply switch between the 3 settings. You can custom set all the gains and find your perfect setting for your flying style. Then let's jump to the next one. Here we have throttle out, governor setup, all that stuff for Brain 2. In my case, as already mentioned, I use the governor mode on my Contronic Colibri ESC, so no use for the governor mode on Brain 2. So I just skip this screen because I have no information for you on this one. Then we have the last one for setup. So here you can set auto level function and use rescue function. So this will help if you're in trouble at midair and you lose control of your helicopter. You can set a switch to use auto level or rescue mode to horizontal level your helicopter and save it from a crash. But in my case I prefer to fly everything manually, don't use any function like this. So no information here, but if you like to use these, you can set these here, and then you can go and use auto level and rescue function. Then last but not least, one of the most important steps, check the correct function of your flybarless system. So as you can see on the animations here, if you move your helicopter, there are two things you have to check. One is that your flybarless does the right correction. So if your helicopter moves to the left, wash plate has to move to the right. If you move your helicopter to the right, wash plate has to go to the left. Same on front and back. If you move forward, wash plate goes back. If you move backwards, wash plate goes forward. And on the tail, if your tail moves to the left, your pitch should move to the right. And if you move your tail to the right, pitch should go to the left. So this is very important. Be careful, check it double, check it 3 times. Just make sure that everything works perfect. And the same you have to do also with stick input. So if you give stick input to the right, your swash plate has to move to the right. If you do it to the left, your swash plate has to move to the left. Front to the front, back to the back. And pitch also, up is up, down is down. And also the same check on your tail. If you move it to the right, check that your nose will go to the right on your helicopter, and if you move your stick for tail to the left, that your nose of your helicopter will move to the left. This is it for the programming video of my T14SG Brain 2 flybarless system on the Oxy 5 helicopter. I hope you like it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to write your comments. I will try my best to answer all the questions. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one. Happy flying. Bye bye.